जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदना ब्रज जन रंजना मुनितीरा वनचारी जमुना तीरा वनचारी जमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव श्री राधे जय राधा मदन मोहन श्री राधे जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय वृंदावन धाम जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रीला प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रीला प्रभुपदा जय जय श्री राधा माधव की जय श्री राधा मदन मोहन की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय निथाय गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudhirayet. Nashtaprayeshu abhradeshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Bhagavate uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtuki. Okay, so we are reading from first canto, chapter 1, text 16. So I won't be able to put a slideshow on this because I don't have connection. So we'll just leave it as is. Can anyone see the screen okay, clearly? Is it okay? I'll try to zoom in. Okay. If everyone can repeat each word. Kova Bhagavatas Tasya Punya Shlokedhya Karmanaha Shuddhi Kamo Na Shinuyad Yasa Kali Malapaham Kova Bhagavatas Tasya Punya Shlokadhya Karmanaha Shuddhi Kamo Na Shinuyad Yassa Kali Malapaham Kova Bhagavatas Tasya Punya Shlokadhya Karmanaha Shuddhi Kamo Na Shinuyad Yassa Kali Malapaham Kova Bhagavatas Tasya Punya Shlokadhya Karmanaha Shuddhi Kamo Na Shinuyad Yassa Kali Mahalapaham. Anyone like to volunteer? Kova Bhagavatas Tasya Punya Shlokadhya Karmana Shuddhi Kamo Na Shinuyad Yassa Kali Malapaham Kova Bhagavatas Tasya Punya Shlokadhya Karmana Shuddhi Kamo Na Shinuyad Yassa Kali Malapaham Kova Bhagavatas Tasya Punya Shlokadhya Karmana Shuddhi Kamo Na Shinuyad Yassa Kali Malapaham. Mataji's. Kova Bhagavatas Tasya Punya Shlokadhya Karmana Shuddhi Kamo Na Shinuyad Yassa Kali Malapaham. Okay, we'll start off with the synonyms. Ka, who, va, rather, Bhagavata, of the Lord, Tasya, his, Punya, virtuous, Shloka Idhya, worshipable by prayers, Karmanaha, deeds, Shuddhi Kama, desiring deliverance from all sins, Na, not, Shinuyat, does hear, Yasha, glories, Kali, of the age of quarrel, Mala, Aham, Ahapaham, the agent for sanctification. Translate and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Who is there desiring deliverance from the vices of the age of quarrel, who is not willing to hear the virtuous glories of the Lord? Purport: the age of Kali is the most condemned age due to its quarrelsome features. Kali Yuga is so saturated with vicious habits that there is a great fight at the slightest misunderstanding. Those who are engaged in the pure devotional service of the Lord, who are without any desire for self-aggrandizement, and who are freed from the effects of fruitive actions and dry philosophical speculations, are capable of getting out of estrangements of this complicated age. The leaders of the people who are very much anxious to live in peace and friendship, but they have no information of the simple method of hearing the glories of the Lord. On the contrary, such leaders are opposed to the propagation of the glories of the Lord. In other words, the foolish leaders want to completely deny the existence of the Lord. In the name of secular state, such leaders are enacting various plans every year, but by the unsurmountable intricacies of the material nature of the Lord, all these plans for progress are being constantly frustrated. They have no eyes to see that their attempts at peace and the friendship are failing. But here is the hint to get over the hurdle. If we want actual peace, we must open the road to understanding of the Supreme Lord Krishna and glorify Him for His virtuous activities as they are depicted in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Umlitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Svapadantikam Vanchakalpatarobhyasya Kripa Sindhubhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you so much for having me. So this is a very beautiful verse. It's actually like a challenge, if you look at it. Who is there desiring deliverance from the vices of age of quarrel? Who is there? Who is not willing to hear the virtuous glories of the Lord? What he's really saying is that you must be very bereft of all intelligence that you will not listen to the virtuous glories of the Lord or the pages of the Bhagavatam. So it's a very powerful challenge in the Bhagavatam. And as you know, Bhagavatam is the Amala Puran. It is a spotless Puran, right? As you know, there's 18 Puranas. 6 are divided for those in the mode of goodness. 6 are divided for the mode of those who are in the mode of passion. And then 6 for those in the mode of ignorance. So the Lord looks after all classes of people. It's not like He only appeals to the Brahmana class or the intelligent class. He's taking care of every single class of men or women. So it's very, very powerful that the Lord has given us the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam doesn't have any tinge of any material desires or self-centeredness. That's why if you look at it, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that there's no self-aggrandizement. There's no dry philosophical speculations, and there's no fruitive activity. So it's completely spotless. So this, forgive me, this was a presentation that I quickly put together, PowerPoint, this morning. But let's break it up. Let's go to the purport points. So Srila Prabhupada mentions a few things. First, he talks about the age of quarrel. It's the age of vicious habits. So Srila Prabhupada is talking about that with a little misunderstanding, one has all kinds of fights. Wars break out. And who suffers? The innocent, right? When the politicians fight, they don't go to war. They send people to go to the war. In the Vedic age, if you think about it, the king would lead from the front. It wouldn't be just their subjects. He would lead by example. And there's also, this age is full of vicious habits. What kind of habits can we name that are vicious? Can anyone name any that are vicious habits? Intoxication. Yes. Intoxication. Prabhu, what's your name? What's your name? Abhay Charan Prabhu. Oh, Hare Krishna. So Prabhu just said intoxication. It's a big, big link between intoxication and the criminal rate. Criminal rate is actually gone high because of intoxication. If you look at it, I live in America. I'm from Los Angeles. Usually when you go near a bar or a pub where they sell alcohol, there's so much police there. Like they have to invest so much money to, cater for people's habits, these vicious habits. So much money, so much energy, so much of our funds, the taxes that we pay, go towards this, funding this vicious habit. Anyone else can name another vicious habit? Gambling. Again, gambling is massive. A lot of people gamble in casinos, and not even in casinos. They gamble in shares, stocks. Anything uneducated where you're blindly just throwing your money away is gambling. So gambling is another problem in life, and it's a huge risk. A lot of people get into debt, and when we pass away, the son inherits the debt as well. So of course, Niha Prabhu is very lucky in that way. Dwarkadish Prabhu left a lot of funds to use in Krishna's service, but not many people are fortunate in that way. A lot of people just ponder their wealth so much away. Any other habits we can name? Illicit activities, yes. Actually, one becomes a slave to the senses and slave to everything else. As soon as one becomes slave to the senses, then generally they become slave to everyone else, right? Narahari Thakur says this wonderful thing, that one gets spiritual potency. One gets spiritual potency when they can control their senses. So the spiritual potency is very, very powerful. Shakti, we call it Shakti, right? A lot of people think these vicious habits or the regulated principles are restricting, right? Who thinks they're restricting, or who thinks that they're full of freedom? Who thinks they're restricting? Be honest. No one's going to put their hand up. We're in the temple, right? Of course. When I ask this to the people outside when I'm preaching, a few people do put their hand up. See, what it is, these regulated principles that Prabhupada has given us, know this, know that, it's supposed to set us free from our mind, our senses. That's when one can have true happiness, actually think about it. When one stops being a slave to the outside world, isn't it? So, what else is there? I think there was a fourth one. Anyone missed that fourth one? No, meat eating, right? So meat eating, cows are getting slaughtered, animals are getting slaughtered. The most pollution that is actually out there is caused by slaughterhouses. So I lived in Australia. We had to actually, when we were driving towards the temple, it's like a 2-hour drive in the countryside, like farms. You drive past farms. There's slaughterhouses there. Why do they have to keep the slaughterhouses so far from the city? Because it stinks. It has pollution. People don't want to see animals getting slaughtered. Slaughterhouse has the most turnover in terms of staff, in terms of people that work there. Because it's not natural to kill something. And when they kill something, these things are packaged in food. So people don't see the violence that happens. And what happens when people eat this violence? They become violent. So that's why Srila Prabhupada said wars are breaking out. There was this one story when he went to the US. I don't know, I think it was Michigan. But somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, like, why are these clouds, why is this overcast? Why the weather so bad? And Srila Prabhupada said, stop these slaughterhouses. He's connecting. Everyone didn't understand him. What's the slaughterhouse to do with the weather system? No one can make that connection. But Srila Prabhupada mentioned that all these bad things are happening here because there's so much violence that's happening. There's a connection. Because there's pollution. They only found out about pollution later, isn't it? They didn't find out in the beginning. When Prabhupada said that, it causes all these overcast and bad weather, is because of the pollution. So, the next thing Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport is the method of getting out of these vicious habits and misunderstanding. So, there's a method. What is that method? We'll go through it. Don't worry. The third thing he mentions is the current leaders and the irony. What is the irony? the current leaders don't have any information about Shravana Kirtana. No one has this. And ironically, they want to stop those people who want to spread the Shravana and the Kirtana of the Lord. So this is the irony, that they have no information about it and they want to also stop those. So it's very unfortunate that if I didn't know about something, out of humility, I'll ask someone, right? But they want to stop those who also want to do this. So it's terrible. And then our plans are also getting frustrated. We have plans. All of us have spiritual or material plans, right? We all have to be practical. We live in this world. We have Iskcon projects, and we also, those who are in a Grihastha ashram, or the Brahmachari ashram, we have to sort out our ashram. So we have plans everywhere. And then, finally, Srila Prabhupada talks about the hearing and the glorifying or the glorification of the Lord. That is the method of getting out, and we'll cover that a bit later. So let's cover, first of all, the vicious habits and quarreling. Why do you think we talked about vicious habits, but why do you think quarreling happens? Arguments, what do you think? Why do you think quarreling happens? Disagreements, right? Usually it's disagreements. And sometimes they're spiritual disagreements. Who can agree? Iskcon project. Sometimes devotees also. Sometimes, right? What else is there? Clash of natures. Nihar Prabhu told me this one. When there's egos clash, people of different natures. So those who are in a mode of goodness, sometimes there's mixed modes. Sometimes they come down. So sometimes there's clash of natures. If two people are very, very bold, alpha, who's heard of alpha male? Alpha male. If two people are really alpha male, can you imagine them in a room together? It'll be chutney. They just keep hitting each other. They'll be all over. So sometimes there's always a patient devotee that's normally paired up with someone that's bold, isn't it? If one person's passive and the other person's dominant, then there's a connection. Otherwise, there's fights. You're leaving? Are you alpha male? Hare Krishna. Then you have history. Sometimes there's history between you two. Sometimes you're together for 5, 6 years, you're doing a project. And then the project finishes, you leave, and then after 2 years, you're praying, please Krishna, please do not pair me up with this person. I don't want to do another project with this person. So sometimes there's fights in this history. There's history of someone. Or somebody did something bad to this devotee that you love. So there's some history. There's also a lack of understanding. That's a big one. Lack of understanding. If we don't understand someone, usually there's fights, isn't it? If you don't understand a devotee you're with, usually we jump to all kind of conclusions. So understanding comes from sambandha, relationship. When you have a relationship with someone, then you won't be too critical of that person. You will forgive them for their offenses. Sometimes they bow down the other way to Krishna, or sometimes they forget to bow down to Tulsi, or sometimes they do some minor offenses here and there. You be forgiving. Why? Because you have a sambandha, you have a relationship with that person. So that comes from understanding the nature of the person. Normally we think, as devotees, when we start, we think that there's black and there's white. Either you follow the standards or you don't. If you don't follow, you're a demon. If you do follow, you're a demigod or a bhakta. But as you mature in spiritual life, you'll figure out that there's degrees of everything. There's a gray area, right? Sometimes some devotees have some challenges. Sometimes some devotees have some obstacles, etc. And they're working at it. So there's compassion. One has to give compassion. So the understanding comes from compassion. One thing S.P. Keshav Swami told me is that if one is sensitive, they'll advance very quickly in spirituality. So spirituality and sensitivity go hand in hand. One becomes sensitive. One becomes tolerant, compassionate. These are all kind of emotional skills one develops. The other one is jealousy. Jealousy is a big one. So usually it's almost like the same thing, If I say, oh, Prabhu, you played so much wonderful madanga player. You're such a wonderful madanga. Who played the madanga, by the way, for this bhajan? Did he leave? Who played the madanga? You did, Prabhu? Rather. So just imagine there was another madanga player here. Maybe there was 4 or 5, and they're very skilled. And I say, Prabhu, you played Madanga player, you were a great Madanga player. Some people may get jealous because you have the same interest. So if you put people in the same interest in the same room together, there's always collision or conflict. Another point is expectations. We have so much expectation. We come to the temple, we see everyone's pure devotee, and we have so much high expectation that when somebody does something wrong or we don't understand what they're doing, then there's a clash. Oh, Prabhu, I saw Prabhu, do you know? I saw this great, great devotee. He did something so wrong. I can't believe it. I expected so high from him, and he did something like this. But when you go out in the streets, everyone is doing this anyway. But we don't say anything about them. So there's expectations. And then there's also having the same aspirations or needs or wants, right? You might have the same dream as someone else next to you. If you have that dream, there's always clash. Prabhu, I was aiming to have Bhakti Shastri, but you're also claiming to have Bhakti Shastri. And there's only one certificate available. Who to give to? So there's arguments like this. And there's also lack of time, pressure, and stress, right? There's so much pressure and so much stress. Study hard, better. Do your studies well. If you don't, your cousin did very well. He got first pass. You should get first pass. So much pressure. And it doesn't take much after that. So if you get all these things in your brain, you might have all of these, by the way. Shishi Radha Matan Mohan ki jai, Shishi Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Shishi Guritai ki jai, Shishi Janapadesa Paramara ki jai, Shishi Nashinde Bhagavan ki jai. So you might have all these symptoms. Can you imagine them going into your head, all these things? Right? It doesn't take much from the outside world. It doesn't take much for, you heard of the stimuli and response, right? It doesn't take much for that stimulus from outside to have a response from you. And usually that response is violence, arguments, terrible, terrible things happen. I just read it some time ago that two people were having an argument about a cricket match. And it ended in a murder. Person got murdered. Cricket match. Was it really the cricket match? Or what do you think it'll be one of these factors, or all of these factors that I mentioned? It doesn't take much. Now people are murdered for very silly, stupid things. So, okay. So what is the underlying factor? Usually these disagreements and things like this happen is because we have lust or karma. The Bhagavad Gita talks about this in detail. Karma, you have different kind of symptoms in karma. It doesn't just mean lust towards the opposite gender. Karma could also mean taking. What can I exploit from Krishna? What can I exploit from the devotees? If I give this much donation, I want to make sure my name is mentioned. Or if I did this much service, I want to make sure my name is mentioned. So in this way, we're looking for that taking mentality. What can I take from Krishna? How can I use Krishna to help myself? So there's a little bit of this, right? So there's also the expectation that I want something, Prabhu. I did service for so many years, and Prabhu, you can't even give me prasadam? Or I missed prasadam today, I missed breakfast today, did you forget about me? So there's also expectation. There's also enjoyment. What can I enjoy? Right? If you've been practicing for so many years, if you feel that I want enjoyment, that's a very beginning stage. That's a karma stage. But later on, you understand that it's all about service. What does Krishna wants to enjoy? So it's the opposite. And then you want results that are immediate, isn't it? Sometimes we chant Hare Krishna. We want to have pure love for Godhead in those 16 rounds. Sometimes we stop being in the mood of receiving. We want immediate results. And then, overall, this is all selfish. It's all about us. Actually, we say it's about Krishna, but it's actually about us. The opposite of this is love or prema. The mood of giving. I came in here and devotees were putting garlands around me, and I was I felt so grateful when these devotees gave so much nihar, Radha Mohini. They gave so much love when we first came a few days ago from America. And they're giving so much love. And I feel like they must have love for Krishna for them to give love to us. It's like a reflection. So I'd like to thank you for that. They're also appreciating. Yesterday we had an appreciating ceremony for His Grace Dwarkadish Prabhu and Leelavati Mataji. Who knew them, by the way? Quick raise of hands. Who knew Dwarkadish Prabhu and Leelavati Mataji? Not many? Okay. All right. Well, they were wonderful devotees. They gave so much time, energy, and Lakshmi in terms of developing this temple and developing the congregation here. But they always, we use this appreciation. We appreciated them. And it actually opened up our hearts. If we actually appreciate someone, it opens up our hearts. And then, if you also look at it, the opposite of immediate results is long-lasting results, isn't it? We want to actually see that our bhakti doesn't just last for 2-3 hours. It has to last, for those who are grihastas. Maturity means that bhakti happens at the temple, but it also happens at home. You take Krishna with you. Long-lasting, right? Sometimes, when I was young, I started when I was 16 years old. I'm 44 now. Pretty old. But I used to always think, oh, Prabhu, Hare Krishna, when I come to the temple. When I go home and my mother asks me to clean the room, I think Maya. Or help, or my father asks, help me somewhere. I think Maya. I always used to think anything outside the temple was Maya and anything inside the temple was Krishna conscious. This is a very immature understanding of what Krishna conscious is. Take Krishna home with you. Serve Krishna in your own way, and whatever circle, in whatever room you're in or whatever house you're in, even if you serve your mother or your father, technically, if you see it that you're serving Krishna, it helps. So, and the other one is selflessness. So one develops selflessness. They look at Krishna, they look at the Vaishnavas, they try not to look at themselves so much. Right? So devotees also have desire, isn't it? There's a spectrum, right? There's two extremes. There's destiny and there's free will. How many of you do you believe that everything's predestined and there's no control? Do you believe that sometimes? Sometimes, oh, Krishna, why are you doing this to me? Something I cannot control. I'm a victim of my circumstances. Do you feel like that sometimes? But then there's also free will. Those people who think, I can make a change in my life. I can change the way things go. I am bold. I am strong. Like Virta, Yes, I can do it. But there's three factors in this. There's a soul. The soul has desires. He has endeavors. Then there's super soul. A super soul sanctions. So sometimes we pray to Krishna. Yep. Oh, I didn't. Yep. I can just carry on talking. Does it? Yeah. So Krishna, sometimes we pray to Krishna and say, Krishna, why can't you manifest my desires? I am thinking very spiritual. I just want a bigger congregation. I want a bigger temple. I want to build another temple. So many things, so many desires one has. Why do you think Krishna doesn't manifest his desires? What does it depend on, do you think? Any ideas? Why do you think Krishna doesn't manifest our prayers straight away? Why do you think? Yeah. Yes. So Prabhuji, Abhay Charan Prabhu said that sometimes we need time to develop, to mature, and then Krishna helps in terms of manifesting it. Is that correct understanding? Very nice point, Prabhu. Anyone else? Anyone else would like to say? Yes, Prabhuji. Nice point. Very good. Prabhu mentioned that sometimes Krishna is reciprocating. He is also giving so much to us, but because of our klesha, our impurities, we cannot see. We cannot see this. Nice point. So you kind of mentioned gratitude, having gratefulness, Very nice point. Anyone else would like to say anything? Yes, Prabhuji. Strong one. Strong point, Prabhu. This one's too fired up. Might need another class for this. So sometimes we have this hidden agenda. Sometimes we don't know what's in our heart. You hear this all the time. Krishna knows us better than we know ourselves. Sometimes we don't know. We might think that we're sincere and we have sincere praying, but inside we're going to do something wrong. We have this cunning plan, selfish plan. Nice point, Prabhu. Very nice. You reminded me of something. In pastime of Dhruva Maharaj, right? So his mother told him, go to the forest, and only Krishna can give you what you desire. Only Krishna, right? So Dhruva Maharaj had that desire. He had that sincere desire that only Krishna can give me this. Even though it's a materialistic desire, he still had that conviction that only Krishna can give me this. Therefore, what happened next? He met a bona fide guru, Srila Narad Muni. See, this is why it connects when Prabhupada says, if your desire is sincere, you'll meet a bona fide guru. If you want to be cheated, you'll get a bogus guru. That's why, if you all know, Putana, when she came, she represents false guru, isn't it? She represents false guru. But who in Vrindavan could see past this Putana, that she was a demon? Only Krishna could. Only Krishna could tell that this was a demon, isn't it? So, same thing. When we actually pray to Krishna, Krishna will give us what we desire, but the desire has to be sincere, right? So Dhruva Maharaj saw a bona fide guru. What did the guru tell him? The guru gave him instructions to see Krishna, right? To see Krishna Garbha Vishnu. So in that way, we also have to have sincere desire. So very nice point. So you have to see if your prayer is very sincere or not. Very nice point, Prabhu. Anything else? Oh, good one. Sometimes Krishna is holding everything back, but he's going to, it's like, 2 steps back and jump. So Krishna is giving something even bigger than what you can imagine. I'll tell you a personal story. My father passed away 3-4 years ago, and I was praying to Krishna, please Krishna, save him, save him, save him. Save, because he had a cancer that was incurable. There was no cure for his cancer. And he only had 8 months to live. So I was praying to Jagannath. We have deities of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. And I was praying so much. Krishna, please save his life. And on his deathbed, he was initiated by my Guru Maharaj. He was initiated. So I later realized, after he passed away, that Krishna wasn't talking about, I desire that he save his material life. But Krishna saved his spiritual life by giving him shelter. His Holiness Devamrita Swami Maharaj. So it was very special. So sometimes Krishna gives us more than what we think or what we desire. Sometimes he even looks at if it's good for this person or not. Very nice, Prabhu. Anything else? You think? Okay, projectors back on. So there's a lot of factors how the super soul sanctions our prayers or our desires. First is the desire itself. He has to see, okay, he's desiring something. Okay, he's desiring something. Is it a spiritual desire? Is it a material desire? How much karma does that person have? How much piety does that person have? If I give him something, will this person be responsible with this ability? And then the material nature arranges this. The material nature manifests this or not, depending on the sanction of the super soul. We'll go to the next slide. This is very nice. A quote from Dalai Lama. I should be only quoting from the previous acharyas. Remember that not getting what you want is sometimes a wonderful stroke of luck, right? Sometimes it's good, as you said, Prabhu. So to complete any activity, 3 parties are involved. The individual soul, the supreme soul, Krishna, and the material nature who manifest it. And sometimes we have other challenges. Our body is changing right now. I have so much. I'm 44 right now, and I'm already getting aches and pains. Body is changing. My body is changing. Who's under 20 here? Who's under 20 years old here? How are you feeling physically? It's great, isn't it? Who's 30 or over? Or between 30 and 40? How are you feeling, Prabhu? Okay, huh? Who's 40 and over? Prabhu, any aches and pains? What? He's the exception. He plays basketball every Sundays. So I have some aches and pains. So body is changing all the time, right? What else? People around us are changing, isn't it? We have people that are changing around us. Oh, Prabhu, you've changed. I remember I reached out to my friend in the UK. I grew up with him. Such a close friend. But when I reached out to him, he's like, I'm not interested in you. I'm not interested. I have my own wife. I have my own family. I'm busy. So people change. Sometimes it's heartbreaking. Also, our fortunes change, right? Sometimes we have Lakshmi, sometimes we have nothing. And sometimes we have nothing, sometimes we have Lakshmi. And also, the place we live in changes. I remember taking my wife, Radha Mohini, to London. I wanted to show her where I grew up, where I went to school, where I was born. My hospital was demolished. I couldn't show her. My school turned into a gym. I could not show her. It broke my heart. It broke my heart that I couldn't show this great portion of my life that had so many memories. So change is unstoppable, it's unpredictable, and it's uncontrollable. You can't do anything with these three things, right? So where do we come back to? So if you look at it, sometimes we've got to look at the cause of our quarrel, our inner, pains, our vicious habits. It's all to do with our inner peace. That if we understand that Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is the controller, and Krishna is the best friend, you actually become peaceful. You become peaceful. You actually let go. How many times we feel some tension in our life, and when we go to a class, somebody reminds us that actually Krishna is in control. How much pressure does it reduce just by knowing that there is someone out there that's taking care of me? It's not all on me. It's like a pressure cooker, if you think it's all you, it's like a pressure cooker. You're gonna blow. The gas, any kind of external stimuli from the inside, the whistle's gonna blow. You use a pressure cooker, I know. So you should know this analogy. So explosion happens. But if you understand that actually Krishna is controlling everything outside us, what we can control is only what's inside us. If you can understand this equation, you'll be happy. You'll be happy. But there's doubts. Do I believe in it? Do I believe in the Siddhanta, in the scriptures? Isn't it? Sometimes we have these doubts. So that's the intellectual platform. Do I really want it? Do I want to change my life? That's the emotional. Do I know how to do it? That's the practical. Sometimes you have to have, that's why they say you have to have mentors, you have to have devotees, you have to have people that are senior to you that can actually teach you how to apply the emotional and the intellectual into something practical. And then, can I actually do it? It becomes personal. And this is where the mentor can tell you, when you reveal your mind during Priti Lakshanam, when you actually exchange confidential conversations that happen, your mentor can tell you that actually, based on your personality, based on your character and the situation you're going to, these are the things I can tell you can do. So they actually know how to apply this practicality. So there's two things that are very, very powerful, actually, to starve all doubts. First is that you feed your faith. We say prasadam. Prasadam is not just what you eat. It's also, prasadam means mercy. It's what you receive, what you get fed in your faith. So it's the philosophy. It's Srila Prabhupada's books. It's the devotees, the Vaishnavas. And it's the practice, abhyas. It's the practice. You have to practice what you hear from your mentors, your gurus. But you also have to do some other things. You have to starve your doubts. Doubts is natural in spiritual life. As you advance, your doubts will also become more and more subtle. These doubts will become subtle. You have to discuss these doubts. Some people think, oh, if I discuss with this Prabhu, he's going to start thinking I'm inferior or I'm low. But I've been practicing for 15 years. I can't tell anyone this doubt because they're going to think that, oh, in 15 years you didn't learn anything. No. You have to approach someone who's like-minded, who loves you. Approach them and explain to them, Prabhu, I have doubts. Discuss it with devotees. The next thing is to delay the doubts. Sometimes you have doubts. Doesn't mean that you have all the answers there and then. Sometimes Krishna reveals something very slowly. So wait for it. Wait for the answer. Sometimes it might be in a book. Sometimes it might be in a situation. Something will happen. There's a lesson. And then downplay the doubts. Sometimes you might have doubts. Downplay it. It doesn't answer everything. It's silly. It's low. Just downplay it at that. Okay. So this is beautiful. This is a stage of every devotee, I believe. So initially, before we come to Krishna consciousness, we might have a material life, or maybe some mixed spiritual life. Our worldview is karma, isn't it? We do fruitive activities. Our spirit is that we are attached. I want to make money. I want to marry someone beautiful. I want to have a big house, big car, etc. Our goal is to enjoy, right? Our dialectic is thesis. Everything is theoretical. Our vision of God is that maybe He doesn't exist, or maybe if He does exist, Om Jai Jagadisha Hare, give me this, give me that, give me this. We ask God for things. That's our relationship with God. We ask for things. And the result is frustration. Then, when we come into Krishna consciousness, we might be just starting early spiritual life, right? Our worldview is that there's a lot of jnana, right? When we read books, devotees talk to us, it's magical. Devotees are telling us so many things. Oh, let go of this, let go of this, let go of everything. So our spirit is that of detachment, sannyas, give, tyaga, to give up. The goal is to escape. Why? Because you just came from that material life. You want to escape. You're done with it. It's over. And then your dialectic is antithesis, reject. I don't want this. And your vision of God is maybe impersonal, right? It could be impersonal because we still think God may be an order supplier, but He's not a person, some energy. And the result is still frustration because whether you do bhoga or tyaga, the result is frustration. That's obvious because you want to go back there again. And then when you have matured spiritual life, now listen to this very carefully. Matured spiritual life, the worldview is bhakti, real bhakti. Our spirit is always engaged. Our goal is service, serve, serve, serve. Our dialectic is synthesis. So who knows what synthesis means? Who knows what that word means? You have material, you have spiritual, you understand how to connect. Because you have to still live in this world. You can't be detached to everything. You still have to have some connection. The brahmachari is even you have to have a bath. You can't just turn up, right? That's something you can say that's material. And it all can be spiritual. It depends what you're thinking of in the shower. So there's little small things that we actually think of or we do that could be spiritual or material. We have to just figure out. So it's a connection. The synthesis means the connection. Because how many of us, quick raise of hands, when you become a devotee, how many, you had to let go of your friends, right? You had to let go of your family sometimes. It was hard. But then you think, where do I belong in this world? Don't you think like that? You think, how do I live in this world? I just gave up my whole society. What do I do? But you have to live in the world. You have to study, right? Those who are studying have to study. Those who have to work. Sometimes it's awkward because they invite you to lunch, your boss or, your friends. What do you do? So that connection, that synthesis, right, is to connect, figure out how. When do I give association? When do I take association? It's the application, actually. This word means application. And the vision of God is Purusha, Purna Purushatam, right? Krishna is a supreme person. And the result is satisfaction. So this is a complete journey. And I want to quickly, we only got 7 minutes left, but I just want to give you some, this doesn't work because I have no connection to the internet, I think. Let me see if I can press refresh. Yes. Came up. So, it is very important to understand that we are in Iskcon. We are in an institution, technically. But don't forget that we are also constitutional. We are devotees by constitution, right? Our constitutional position is we are devotees or servants of Krishna. Jaive Swarupe Krishna Nityadas, right? But we also belong in an institution called Iskcon. So, don't just have faith. Back it up with science. Why am I doing this? Don't blindly follow something. Don't just say, Prabhu said so, therefore I will do. No. Use your critical thinking, right? Now, religion is also created. It came at a certain time, right? If you look at it, Islam came at a certain time. Christianity came at a certain time. But spirituality is eternal. It didn't have a beginning. It doesn't have an end. In religion, if you look at it, there's always forced rules. Do this, don't do this. Almost like niyamagraha. But spirituality is that when you follow something, it's based on intelligence. Why are you not doing this and why are you doing that? Is backed up, right? Religion is also selfish. How much can I get out? How much can I get out from this religion, etc. But spirituality means selflessness. Religion, if you look at it, it's all about dividing, isn't it? How many fights do you have with Hindu and Muslims and Christianity? There's so many fights. Spirituality means uniting. It means understanding. Anuttama Prabhu said something so wonderful to me. Anuttama Prabhu. Everyone knows who he is, right? He's the director of communications. He said to me, just because you're Krishna conscious doesn't mean you have monopoly on Krishna. Just because you follow Iskcon doesn't mean you have monopoly on Krishna. There's other religions out there that can have the same access to God. They might be speaking to God, you don't know. So don't give up this arrogance, he said to me. Very nice. And then, religion, it's about rituals and practices. Mechanical. But spirituality is about essence and experience. Feeling it. Doing Aarti, Hare Krishna. No, feeling, Hare Krishna. I remember the devotee this morning, when he was doing Aarti, it was so beautiful. When he turned around to give Deepa Aarti to everyone else, he was smiling. Like he felt some experience, in the middle, the devotee in the middle here, when he was serving. I didn't see anyone else. He was smiling, like he had an experience with these deities when he was offering. Wonderful. That's what we want to feel. The substance, All right. So what happens when we don't do this? So usually our mentality is either I control or Krishna controls, right? So when there's success, we feel proud and we also feel complacent, right? But when we admit that Krishna controls, we have gratefulness, we have humility. When there's failure, naturally, what do we feel when there's failure? We feel depressed, we feel frustrated. But when we accept that Krishna controls, we are accepting, we are determined, isn't it? Okay, Krishna, thank you for giving me this lesson. I failed. There was a lesson in this. I accept. But I'm determined to change the way I think inside. There's also difficulties. When there's difficulties happen, people become angry. People start blaming. It's your fault. This happened. This is all Nihar's fault. No, not your fault, Prabhu. But when we start accepting that Krishna controls, we become reflective. We become progressive, isn't it? We think, why? I know at least a handful of devotees. I actually don't know any devotee who don't think that this. When something bad happens, they always think, oh, what's the lesson in this, Prabhu? What's Krishna trying to teach me? They always think like that. But when I look at karmis or immature people, they're always like, it's your fault. You did this. They figure out how to connect the dots so it's someone else's fault, never themselves. And they use amazing intellect to figure out it's your fault. That's the thing, And when there's changes happen, naturally people feel nervous or overwhelmed. But when Krishna controls, there's excitement, there's confidence. And when challenges happen, normally if you think that I'm in control, you think, oh, I'm so weak, I'm so inadequate. But when you start seeing that Krishna controls, we feel empowered. We feel strong by Guru Parampara. So it's super powerful. And spirituality. Who here thinks that you will get Krishna Prem in this lifetime? Who believes? Everyone should put their hand up. Everyone should put their hand up. Both hands. We should think. We should be confident. So naturally, if you think you're in control, you'll feel like this. You'll feel hopeless. You'll feel Krishna consciousness is so far away. I have so many anarthas. How will I deal with this? I have an ocean of anarthas. But if you start thinking Krishna is in control, then that connection will come. That I have faults, but I believe it's achievable one day. So we have to think like this. We have to think that Krishna is so merciful. Kripa Sagar, right? He's an ocean of mercy. Kripa Sindhu. He's so merciful. He can actually do anything, right? But we have to endeavor. So it's both endeavor and mercy. If you look at it, the column on the left-hand side is endeavor, and the column on the right-hand side is mercy. And they go hand in hand. One doesn't go without the other, because if it's just our endeavor, we'll start feeling all this negativity. But if we add Krishna to it, then we'd get all these other qualities. It goes hand in hand. It's not one or the other. It's not control. Krishna controls everything and I don't control anything. When one thinks that, they get complacent. Oh, I can do anything wrong. I can break the 4 eggs. Krishna's merciful. It doesn't work like that. It's both. It's both. All right, I'll start off because Srila Prabhupada mentions Kale dosha nide rajan. Very, very beautiful verse. Ashti heko mahaguna. Ketanad eva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. Right? My dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from the material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom in this very lifetime, not place, consciousness. So we have to think like this, right? That if you want to advance, you have to develop the urge to hear. Urge to hear. Your need, your want is to always hear about Krishna Katha, Hari Katha. If one increases that urge, naturally everything will die. That's how it works. If you look at it, the first canto, the first chapter, all the way to the 5th or the 6th chapter, Prabhupada always emphasizes on hearing. Urge to hear. He doesn't just hearing, urge to hear. So one must develop that urge to hear. Then he can advance. He talks about 2 important qualifications. The speaker must come from a bona fide line from the acharyas, and the audience, this is very important, the audience must have sincerity and the urge to hear. They must have the urge to hear that this is important, what I'm hearing is important. So those 2 qualifications are needed. All right, I'm over time. I'm sorry, Prabhus. Does it go over time? Do we have time for questions or questions? Or everything happens on time? Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
आपको थैंक यू कि आपने इस जो भी हम पढ़ते हैं उसको सबको प्रैक्टिकली वो करके स्लाइड से समझाया. मेरे मन में मतलब कुछ वन क्वेश्चन इन माय माइंड. तो मैं पूछना चाहती हूँ कि अपन ने वो करा, ये देखा कि एक तरफ कृष्ण कॉन्शियसनेस, दूसरी तरफ माया. हाउ टू कोऑर्डिनेट. एक गृहस्थ के होने के नाते हम सब कुछ जानते हुए भी हम वो कोऑर्डिनेशन, मतलब हम ये चीज़ छोड़ नहीं पाते कि हाँ ये सब संसार है, उलझो मत, इसमें मत उलझो. कैसे इसको करें?
Yes. Can somebody translate English for those? So I think Mataji was asking that there's Krishna consciousness, and then there's kind of like normal jivan, right? Like normal life. How do we coordinate? How do we connect? Is that right? Is that correct understanding? Yeah, I mean, I've been practicing for the past 30 years, and I think even I have a tough time connecting. But that's where spiritual maturity comes in. So maturity, I'm grateful that I have mentors. I have very good mentors. Naveen Krishna Prabhu brought me into Krishna consciousness. I don't know if anyone knows him. He's Avanti school. He's the one that helped me a lot in the beginning. But I believe mentors are very important. Sadhu Sangh. And those people who love you, who are like-minded, they understand you. And then those who you can take shelter of. It's very important. This is a formula by Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami. Sujatya, right? Sneha and Snigdha. So, yes, this is the formula. So, seek out someone that is like-minded, someone that's similar to you. Not all devotees are similar here. Not everyone's like-minded here. If everyone was like-minded here, we'd be impersonal. We're not impersonal. There's a devotee that completely is like you, like-minded, same wavelength. Same with you. So we're not impersonal. It's not like I'm going to associate with all the devotees and I want to get along with everyone. No, it doesn't work like that. Find a devotee that is like-minded like you, who is stronger than you, so you can shelter. And someone who loves you, has to have love for you. Someone that can help you. This person has compassion, he understands me. If he has any kind of envy to you, it won't work. So, can somebody translate that to Mataji? Or आप understanding करते हैं सब? Yeah. मेरी हिंदी बहुत पक्का नहीं है. हाँ, she can understand. So that's important. So be practical in your spiritual life, not just, oh, I'm in Iskcon, I'll associate with everyone. No, that means you're impersonal. Look at individuals. Look at their challenges. Have they gone through the same thing that you have? Right? Do they love you? Do they have any kind of compassion to you? And then they will give you advice on how to connect. So, thank you much. Or Prashna, kuch or? Any more questions? All right, we'll end here. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Hare Krishna. Dhantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. You can take, yeah, you can use this temple. I saw you taking photo. Yes, yes.